My name is Julie and welcome back to Bookish Travels. Now I am doing an extra special video today because I have a guest. Believe it or not, yes. I've got the wonderful B Hathaway here. I've brought one of her books, the most recent one here, and I love these books. I love a good, cozy, especially in the times that you write in. And if you go back into my videos, you'll see what I did when I went to Rye in the Mermaid Inn. I was just jazzed. I was like, oh my gosh, this is the fireplace.
Yeah, no, I saw that. Yeah, well, thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much, Julie. I'm really honoured to be here. Thank you. And I saw what you did in Right was amazing. And you also sort of unboxed all my books in one go.
I did.
Which was really, really lovely to
I
watch,
did.
Actually.
I had a moment.
Yeah.
I thought, well, I'm going to get them all. Okay.
Yeah. No, that was really lovely. Yeah, so thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Thank you for coming. And I'm really excited to get to this one. I'm not there yet, but I will get to it eventually. But I do have some questions for you, and we're going to just run through them. I'm going to have to take the specs off.
Yeah, no, go for it.
So, first question really is, anyone new to your books, how would you describe what you write in your own words?
In my own words,
Wow.
Hello. Okay, I'll take this. Hello, everyone. So I'm B Hathaway, and I write historical cozy crime fiction. So I currently write a series which is called the POSIE Parker mystery series. I write in the cozy crime sort of section, which means typically I'm not writing hard-boiled crime fiction. I would say I'm sort of veering towards the end of the sort of the section, which is historical, sort of more towards sort of Agatha Christie, quite golden age really, sort of adhering to kind of quite sort of strict kind of it's a sort of set piece really in terms of sort of often closed room mysteries, travel sort of flavoured mysteries, or very, very London mysteries, very English mysteries, but with that sort of nod towards the golden age, glamour. My mysteries are clean, so there's no sex, there's typically no swearing, there are occasional references to sort of past expressions, that kind of thing. So that's where I am. I think you're asking me how to describe the books, and I would say if I have to give myself a differential over other authors in my sort of category, of which there are many, and there are some amazing ones, I have to give a shout out to Verity Bright, Helen Dixon.
Yes, I read those too.
To Lee Strauss, to T. Kinsey here.
Yes.
If I'm going to sort of give myself any differential at all, it would be that I love history. Well, we both love history, don't we? Actually, that's I think why I'm here really. I love history, and you'll find at the back of all of my books a list which is a historical note. And this is really as accurate as I can get it. It's almost my sort of notes for the novel as I've gone along, but really tidied up at the end for my readers to sort of see what's real, what I've made up, what I've kind of adhered to from the time. And you'll see as well that I really do try to adhere to what's happening at the time. So I'm writing in the 20s, which is a period I love, and it's quite well documented. So I can really sort of give a flavour of the weather at the time, and political events at the time, etc., etc. And I try and list my sources for these at the back. So, where I've got this information from, where I've gone wildly kind of, off script actually, in terms of what's different.
And I've just seen Anne Boleyn.
Yeah, exactly.
And I saw that.
Yeah, exactly. So that's where I have that slight differential, I think. But I'm firmly in the cozy crime historical category.
Yes.
So,
Yes, I love.
I'll pass the microphone back to you.
Thank you. Thank you. I love Posy. Actually, she's very jolly, but she definitely knows her mind, doesn't she?
Yes, she does.
Yes.
I wanted to create a protagonist who was a very strong woman. I wanted to create someone who I find this age is fascinating, the 20s, this time after the First World War. It's a time of reinvention. You've got sort of a time in history when probably the first time actually in British history when women could really step out on their own. We've got a whole generation of men lost, husbands, boyfriends, fathers even, and women having to reinvent themselves. And that's what I was drawn to in the time. I was looking for sort of a time and for a person who could almost make themselves what they wanted to. So Posie Parker is a chameleon. She's a master of reinvention. She's left very much in the first novel, but this is played out again and again. She's left on her own. She's almost left destitute. She's left with a Siamese cat and a tiny bit of money, and she's got her dreams. And she goes to London, the city of dreams, and she sets up this detective agency, really with hardly anything in her pocket, and she has to adapt in several ways. In several ways she doesn't really want to as well. She has to sort of face facts, and she ends up sharing her detective agency with a character I like a lot called Len Irving, who sort of lurks on the seamier sides of life, and he's a photographer. But so Posie Parker's a very strong character. She is not without her own kind of foibles, and she's always hungry. She walks around London looking for a good place to eat. She is really interested in fashion, but she can't really afford the fashion. She's very interested in makeup. This is a time when Maybelline and cosmetics are sort of coming to the fore of department stores, because women can go out in their lunch break and buy a lipstick because they've got money now. I think what also drew me to creating a character like Posie Parker, as opposed to giving or opposed to creating a character who was sort of Lady X, was I wanted someone who didn't have the baggage of an aristocratic upbringing. I wanted someone who could almost start over with a clean slate, someone who could make themselves what they wanted to.
Excellent. And I like that. I like the independence that Posie has, even though, like you said, she didn't come with much, but she's determined to make something of herself. So I like that, especially in that era as well.
Very much so.
You say in modern day, I'm going to make myself something, but women today can do that. But I think what is good about Posie is because way back then, women's liberation really wasn't that far advanced, was it?
It wasn't. We've got sort of women getting the right to vote, a little bit in 21, some, and then later on in 1928. But for most people, the real kind of change is the First World War, because they've all been, with this generation of men who've gone, women have had to come into the factories. They've had to sort of, work as, milkmen, delivery people. They've actually had to go out and work as nurses. Posie Parker is an ambulance driver. They've had to learn to drive. They've had to learn to do all that kind of thing, and then pull back into a peaceful era when men are coming back, and it's that whole sort of negotiating for your job. Do you get married and go and live a peaceful life with your husband, who's the main breadwinner, or do you decide to carry on? Although that in itself was not that advanced, because in things like the civil service, if you did have a job in the civil service and then you got married, you had to give it up at the time. So it's a time of constraint actually, but an interesting time for women, definitely.
Indeed, yes. You've kind of answered my next question, so we'll pop on to the next one, saying, before you started writing, or were you an avid reader beforehand? And what kind of books? And it says, what kind of reader were you before you came a writer?
Oh, okay. A voracious one. I love reading. Although, I like to read everything actually. I like to read newspapers. I like to read non-fiction. I like to read biographies. I read everything actually. I like a lot of fiction. I think that probably you're asking me what kind of reader I am. I'm going to tell you I'm a historical fiction reader as well as writer. I lap it up. I have a few favourite authors. I like Andrew Taylor, who writes the Ashes of London series. I think boiling down backwards, I think if I really have to focus, it's probably historical fiction, London based.
Right.
So of course I love all the Hilary Mantel books. I love anything about Tudor London, the Tudor court, all of that. And then coming on to mysteries, well, everything Agatha Christie, everything about Agatha Christie as well, actually, and anything really from that time. I would say more British than American, but yeah, so lots and lots. So if you look on my bedside cabinet at the moment, for example, I've got lots of different stuff. I like reading poetry actually as well. I like reading biography, and so I've probably got an Agatha Christie kicking around. I've probably got a Wendy Cope volume of poetry, and I'm quite interested in Christopher Marlowe at the moment as well, so I'm reading quite a lot of biographies and books about him as well. So yeah, a real mix.
Absolutely. When you say you've got books on your bedside table, I was just visually picturing mine, thinking, gosh, yes, I've got about 4 or 5 all started.
Yes, yeah. That's the thing, isn't it? Finishing.
Yes. And it's like, which one should I read tonight? Next question is about this book. No spoilers, please, because I haven't read it. But when I saw it and I saw this particular necklace, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm excited. So generally, we're talking about this book, or generally all your other books. How do these stories come to you?
Well, Posie Parker is a series. Posie Parker mystery books are a series, but they can be read as standalones. So I suppose when I finish one book, I am always thinking about what I'll be doing in terms of setting up the next one, where she is geographically, and where she's in her life, what she might be doing, who she's with, that kind of thing. So Murder at the Silver Shoes Jazz Club is very much a London-based book. I wanted to write one that was set very much in London, and it covers a few different things. It's Posie in a particular time of her life. It's a mystery, which literally lands at her door. The client comes to her, brings the problem to her. It's quite based in her office. It's being with a few of her friends. I had quite a lot of my readers who were saying, I would really like to see a bit more of Posie at work and some of the dynamics with people that she's there with. So I did that. It's also a historical mystery. It's about something that's happening at the time in London. There's this really strange case of Judas trees being dug up, and that she knows about because by this stage, I'm not really going to give any spoilers away, but Posie Parker is married to Inspector Lovelace, who runs Scotland Yard, and so she knows about this, and it's essentially the pegging together of what is her case and his case. And there is on the front cover, so Julie's pointed out, there's the very famous necklace that belonged to Anne Boleyn. We can see her wearing it in, I think, all of her portraits actually, with the big B and the very distinctive pearls. This has always fascinated me actually. This necklace. This isn't. It would be wonderful if they found it. So I think that's explored in this novel as well in different ways. So historians have never been able to say where this necklace has ended up. People say that it was given to Elizabeth on Anne's when Anne was executed, but that's never been documented. They've never found anything in Elizabeth I's records saying that she received this necklace, and that's really unusual because she was known to be a really prolific note taker and a recorder of her belongings. So where did this go? It seems likely that it was probably dismantled and distributed, that the jewels were dismantled and distributed among the new queen's remade jewels. We don't know. That's something I explore in this book, what might have happened to this necklace, because this necklace is something that was worn at a very short period of history, which was probably one of the most pivotal times in English history. And I was just kind of exploring that sense of the power that can be attributed to an object, where it might go, why it was important, and I wanted to put it at the heart of a mystery. So that's what I did. So you'll have to read the book. But yeah, that's right at the centre of this, really, as well. So
because I'm working. I know you said you could read them in standalones, but I'm determined to read each one as we go along.
Yes, and that's interesting as well, because I do sometimes pull characters from. I'm actually writing. I'm writing book 18 at the moment. Well, I'm editing it actually, and there are a couple of characters who are pulled from number 2, only briefly, and you don't have to know much about them, but it's sometimes interesting to go, ooh, they were back then. I recognise them. Yeah. Yes, exactly. Tomb of the Honeybee. That whole sort of archaeological sort of thing at the British Museum, and the Egyptologists who were going out on digs. Yeah, it's sometimes good to have a little dash away. Yeah.
Yes, because the whole thing. I won't spoil about the Tomb of the Honeybee, but I was just. Oh, thank you. I was just like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. I was going, wow, I love this.
I enjoyed writing that a lot.
Yes, I bet.
I bet. Especially, again, a bit like this, that sense of a book within a book, or a mystery within a mystery.
Yes.
And that whole sort of, like Easter eggs, within each other. So, yeah.
Yes, and it's great, because if you hook on to one of the Easter eggs, it gives you this surge of, oh my gosh, I remember that.
Yeah.
It's fabulous.
Yeah,
and I think that's great. I think that's great that happens. Yeah. Not just particularly one book. Is there a particular character that surprised you as you were writing? You kind of thought, this is how I'm going to write them, but actually as you wrote them they changed, or they just surprised you in some way?
Yeah, there are a couple of characters actually. Posie herself is quite a constant to me. She's this, as I said, this sort of strong protagonist. So setting her aside, the characters that have surprised me as I've gone through these series are characters which are right there from the beginning. So there's Rufus Lord Cardigan and Dolly, who is an interesting character. He marries her, and she's been a suffragette. She's a real survivor. She's been a wardrobe mistress. She's a little bit older actually. She's ever so glamorous and ever so well preserved, but she's sort of already in her 40s when he marries her. And then she goes on this quite interesting journey across the series. You think she's just going to be this sort of Cockney, cheerful girl. And she, shout out to my readers, she does stay within the novels. She does come back. She stays. She's quite a constant. She goes on an interesting journey. I don't want to give too much about that, because that's a bit of a spoiler, her journey throughout the series. But Rufus as well is a very interesting character. He's my sort of, he's a hook really in the beginning. He's a link to Posie's past. He is your very, very landed aristocrat. He's been a friend of Posie's brother at school, and he is a springboard really for Posie to enter another echelon of society. Fine, we all have characters like that, but he is an interesting character for me, because it would be very easy to have left him like that, as this sort of quite sort of buttoned up lord there, but he doesn't stay like that, and I do investigate him and try and explore his character over the series of the novels, and that surprised me how I love him actually. He's a wonderful character. He has such a lot to give. He's brilliant. He's essentially turning into his father, who he hated, but he doesn't want to, and it's that whole sort of sense of almost rediscovering himself as he goes along. So that's been an interesting one too.
I'm glad you mentioned him, because he is always, I mean, yes, Posie's there, but when you're reading the story and he comes into that story on the page, you think, oh, there he is.
Yes, yeah, he is. He's an interesting one, and he's not without his own kind of weaknesses as well, very much so, especially that whole kind of thing of not getting on with his father, and he has twin daughters, which will be interesting, and he has a very small son who's quite weak and sickly, and that's going to be quite a challenge to navigate. You can tell that for him already. So an interesting character.
Yes. Now we've talked about the books. I'm happy to talk about them more in future videos. However, but I do, as somebody who writes but doesn't think much of her writing or the process, I know I've heard a lot of writers say you've got to write something every day to keep it going, whereas I just write when I get the feeling, when I get a muse, and I'm like, but I don't actually do it. I've got about 10 different stories on the go, and whether they'll see the light of day is a different matter. But how do you go about writing, do you have a strict regime, or do you just write, okay, I feel like writing today? Or, I mean, obviously you do have deadlines and stuff, so,
sure.
you know.
I can talk about that. I do have deadlines, so if I didn't, I wouldn't get anything done. So I typically sort of will set up how I'm going to write the book and what it's about. I start with the idea of where the book's going to be set. Is this going to be a London book? Is this going to be a travel-orientated book? Is this going to be, you know, what are we talking about here? What's the theme for this? And then I go from there with plot. But in terms of how I write, everyone is so different. I know people who write literally every day, and they will sit down and write for sort of 4 hours or 5 hours or 6 hours a day. I'm a mum as well, so I can't absolutely sit down and be like, this is my office job. But I would say I do try and write about 4 hours a day when I'm writing a book, and I am quite disciplined with that. But I'm also someone who thinks it's much better to have something on the page and just get on with it rather than sort of writing a few sentences and tinkering with them. I'd much rather get something on the page and then hard edit it afterwards than sort of play around as I go along, I think. But I don't think there's any one particular way of doing that. I mean, I know writers who will write a book in a very short time and they'll literally write it night and day, and I know others who will spend sort of 2 years writing something, and I just don't think there's anything that, you know, there's no hard and fast rule to it at all. It's whatever suits you, and also your lifestyle, and, you know, where you are in the world, where you've got to write. I mean, are you writing at the kitchen table? Are you writing having to clear things up? Have you got a study? You know, have you got another job? Most people have. Like, are you know, what are you doing? You know, at the time. So yeah, I think all I'd say to anyone aspiring to write a novel or get their work together is literally just write it. Just write it.
I think I need to have that strict. I need to be strict with myself, actually, because I want to do this, or I fancy doing this, or I want to do that.
It's really difficult,
and then I think, I wanted to write today and I've never gotten it done. But so do you write your books as it goes, or do you write the end first, the middle first, the beginning, or you just think, I need to write that bit and then work around it?
Well, without giving too many of my secrets away, I do usually, so as I said, I always know what the book's going to be about, where it's going to be set, and I do normally have a very rough sort of thing in front of me of who are the characters, who's done it, who's been murdered, why, and then usually in all of my books, which has worked quite well so far for me, is I do have a sort of a second strand of a story running through, and so I would say that I have the main story it's not all mapped out, but it's almost mapped out when I'm writing. But I have been surprised in the past sometimes by a sort of this other sub story or a second strand of a story coming through, which might be anything from being the resolution of a character, like something going on in the life of Rufus maybe, or a love affair between a couple of our characters, or maybe exploring something from POSIE Parker's past, which has often cropped up actually with her parents or something else, but there'll always be a sort of sub-strand running through. And as I said, that's the thing that has sometimes come about as I have been writing. But generally and you asked if I write the ending first. That has happened in a couple of times, that I have written the epilogue first, because I knew what I wanted it to be about. I've always gone and tweaked it, but I have sometimes written that first. Yeah.
Oh, excellent. So off camera, I've just asked you quite a few questions all in one go. So I'm going to put you on the spot here and make you answer them.
You put me on the spot.
Yeah. So there we go. Over to you.
Thank you. You asked me if I drink tea or coffee, or what I drink. I drink a lot of tea. I would almost put myself down as being a professional tea drinker. Yes. I really am. I drink tea all the time. Too much tea, but that is what keeps me going.
Too much tea.
Yeah, exactly. So definitely tea. And then you said, where can readers keep up with what I'm doing? Well, I've always found this quite an interesting balance, actually, in terms of kind of over supplying content and information to my readers, because I have wonderful readers. I really have such lovely readers. Hi to you all. You're brilliant, and you write to me. You send me emails, and you give me wonderful feedback, and sometimes interesting and interesting questions. I have not turned into the kind of writer who is on Substack. I'm not. I just think that my readers are interested in my books. I don't want to give my personal opinions about different things. Yes. Like politics or fashion or anything. I think that people's inboxes these days at the moment are so clogged up with information from all sorts of people that I would not be presumptuous enough to want to start up a I'm not saying everyone's presumptuous on Substack. I think Substack's wonderful. I read so many interesting things on there, but I don't want to be one of those people putting that out there. I think if someone wants to read my things, they can read my books. Exactly. But what I do is if you go onto my Facebook, I don't keep a really active page there, but I do check it, and I will engage with my readers there. And if I have got news, then I share it on Facebook about a new release, if there's a competition, if there's a deal coming up, if I've got I don't know, a short story or something out, I will put it on Facebook. And I do send out a newsletter, and I do ask my readers. I think it's, I belong to several other writers' newsletters, and I sign up for those. And I probably only send out about, I would say, 3 newsletters a year, or almost quarterly. It's not quite quarterly. And in that, if you sign up on Amazon, or if you sign up on my website, there's a sign up box. I will send an email newsletter out to you when I do have a new release, and I try to include all of my information in one go. So I'll say, here's the new release, this is what it's about, this is where you can buy it, and I'll also say, this is what I'm working on. And if I have a deal coming up, I'll also mention it within that same newsletter. And I'll also, something I've done recently, which a lot of readers have said they enjoy, is to put the other books that are sort of by other writers like Verity Bright, that I enjoy, but who also might have new releases either coming up, or that have been, or within that sort of, I sort of work within a quarter, really, roughly, sort of coming out within the same sort of period of the next maybe 6 months or whatever. So I tend to sort of put those in, and I do put down what I'm enjoying as well at the time. So that's my kind of news to people, really. And from my side, I always think that's probably enough.
Yes.
So
because people come.
It's a fine balance, I think.
Yes, indeed. Yeah. Because people come to you for your writing and for your books, so they don't want to know what you had for dinner last night, sort of thing.
All of that, exactly.
I personally don't have Facebook, but I will get the link, and I'll link it. I also link your website, because I go on your website quite often and have a look and whatever. So I will link that as well. So check that out. The last, I know you've talked about the next book that's coming after this one. Yes. But is there anything else you want to tease us with that we're allowed to hear? If not, just say no.
The answer to that, Julie, is yes and no. Okay. So there are things coming, but I can't really talk about them at the moment. But the next news for me in terms of Posie Parker is that the next book, which is called Murder at the Villa Amalfi, is out, I think it's the 26th of May. And that's a destination type book. It's also kind of quite closed murder mystery, closed house murder mystery. It's set in this villa, obviously on the Amalfi Coast, and there's going to be a wedding going on, and it's a very sunny book, and I think we've had some dreadful weather here in the UK, and
like today.
Yeah, exactly. I was already writing this book, but thinking, goodness, it would be lovely to have a lovely sunshiny place. So this one is obviously destination book, but I have really enjoyed writing it. It's been an absolute blast, and I really hope that readers will love it too. So
I'm sure they will.
Thank you.
I'm sure they will. Now, I've just thought of another question that's not written on here. How far do you want to take Posie? Do you want to keep on and on and on, or is that one of the things that you can't talk about is because Posie's going to sort of get to a stage where you think, right, I've written everything I can about her. I mean, you can answer this if you want to. If you don't want to, it's completely fine.
I'd love to answer that, actually, because I do get quite a few people writing to me saying, is that the end for Posie? I had that when I wrote a book called Murder in Venice, which is number 6. Again, without giving any big spoilers away about the actual character, but something really cataclysmic happens at the end of that novel.
I think that's my next one.
it's one of my favourites, actually, of the books I have written about Posie Parker, but it's a real sort of cliffhanger. And at the end of it, I got a lot of people writing saying, is that the end? And I was like, absolutely not. In a way, it's almost the beginning for her. So I said when I started writing this series that I was going to write through the 1920s. I found the 20s a fascinating time. We've already touched on that for women, but just generally socially, you've got slightly towards the end of this period, but it's so different from the beginning and the end of that decade is so different. You've got like the rise of fascism and all sorts of stuff happening at the end. And I said I was going to write through the 20s, so I started writing in 1921. And I'm currently up to this book here that Julie's brought along, which is just out, which is Murder at the Silver Shoes Jazz Club, is set in 26. So Murder at the Villa Amalfi is also set in 26. So I've got 4 years to go. And lots can happen in 4 years, because sometimes I've been a little bit sporadic. I've had a couple of years. So there's a difference in time between, I think, Murder at Maypole Manor and then The Vanishing of Dr. Winter. That's set over a couple of years. But a lot of my books have now been squeezed into one particular year. So yeah, Posie Parker isn't going anywhere yet. She's definitely got the 20s to go. This is coming back to teasers and spoilers alert, I would very much like to write something that's set in the 1930s. That's not going to be a Posie Parker thing, but it's a definite possibility at the moment. And it's something I'm very much looking forward to. But Posie Parker is not going anywhere, and there are lots and lots of books still coming.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for coming and meeting me, and this absolutely wonderful place. It's called the Parrot Inn in Canterbury, and we're in this glorious Tudor room.
Yeah, it's wonderful, isn't it?
It's
one of the old. I think it's either the oldest or the second oldest pub in Canterbury, and it's really, really atmospheric.
It's gorgeous. Yeah. It really is lovely. I can just see the Tudor people in here.
I know, absolutely, and they've been so kind letting us film here.
They are very much. So if you're in Canterbury, come to the Parrot Inn, because it's fabulous here. And actually, you can come and see this fireplace that we've sat in front of.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, thank you so much for watching. If you like what you saw, please do come back for more. And I will definitely be talking about more Posie Parker when I read them. And thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you.
Thank you, and we'll see you in my next one. Bye.